Hello, I'm Jeremy Myers. This is Wendy Myers, and we're here discussing my book, Adventures in Fishing for Men. It's a satire, a humorous look at Christian evangelism, and we are discussing Chapter 10, Letting Others Know You Fish. So, Wendy, this book, or this chapter, is sort of contains a list or examples of a lot of the things that the fisherman does to try to make himself a world-famous fisherman without catching any fish. He realizes from previous experiences with fish that he doesn't like fish. But he wants to become a world fisherman, so he has to figure out how to become a world-famous fisherman without touching or catching fish. And so the way he does that is he does a variety of things to make people think he's a good fisherman. He wears a necklace with a big giant hook on it, plastic, because he doesn't want to hook his ear the way he did in previous lessons. He wears t-shirts, he gets a bumper sticker for his car, and he buys lots of fishing books and magazines. Yep. So, what is the chapter about? It's pretty obvious, but what am I comparing this fisherman to?
To Christians. Christians and all the things that Christians do to make themselves look like Christians, or at least what they think they should look like.
Right. So lots of people, to make themselves look like Christians, they wear necklaces. Not just necklaces, but necklaces with a big cross.
Big cross. And
it can't just be a cross, it has to be gold. 18 karat, 24 karat gold. You even see some people, these big, giant crosses, and they wear them on the outside of their clothes to really make it stand out. Then you have the Christian t-shirt wearing people. Yep. The nice, cute sayings and slogans and plays on words, And then the bumper stickers.
The bumper stickers, yes. The
fish on the car. And then to the books and magazines that we carry around. And he even places them, he says that when he's out, he places them on his desk so that people ask him about fishing. And some people do that as well, placing Bibles on their desks at work to, I don't know if it's intentional, but it's sort of a way of showing people, hey, I'm a Christian, I read my Bible, sort of a thing. And the truth of the matter is none of those things make this guy a fisherman. He still hasn't even caught a single fish.
He doesn't like fish.
And he doesn't like fish. He doesn't want to be around fish. Fish stink. And it's sort of the same way with Christians sometimes too, isn't it?
Very much so.
The people who do some of these things, sometimes they're not very good at having relationships with non-Christian people.
Yeah. Even so, more so than that, sometimes when I teach, it's funny to see the kids that come in with the t-shirts of their last youth group that they went to, or the slogan. And I've learned now that those are the worst kids in the classroom. They are the ones that will try and get everybody to laugh, that will try and get people to throw spitballs, that will they are the most disruptive. So it's almost as if I'm like, thank you for wearing that. I know exactly who is going to be the class clown and try and mess me up. So, yeah.
And then, so that's just sort of what the chapter is about. But then at the end, the last sort of third of the chapter here, he does have a little encounter with his neighbor. And his neighbor seems to express some interest in fishing. And the man gets suspicious and upset. He's like, no, I've spent all this money and put all this time into learning how to fish. And if you want to learn how to fish, well, you got to do it the same way I do, and you got to begin by going out and buying that expensive boat. And again, the boat, remember, and the pool sort of represents a little bit the church building and all of the expenses that go into it. So essentially what he's telling his neighbor, you want to be a fisherman, you got to go to church. You have to do that big, expensive building project thing that I did, because that's how you become a famous fisherman. And again, lots of churches sort of feel, or lots of Christians feel that same way about church, don't they?
Very much so.
Right, you can't be a Christian unless you go to church.
Right.
do the
and
things
go to
I did.
church every Sunday, and then put your kids in Sunday school, and then go Wednesday. You're not a serious Christian unless you go Wednesday night
Right.
to the Bible study or the prayer meeting.
Yeah, it's not just the expense of the building, but also the expense of time
Right.
that goes into that.
Yeah.
And lots of Christians, again, feel like that's the only way to be a real Christian. And that's sort of what this guy is showing in the chapter as well. So that's all I have on the chapter. I did most of the talking. I don't know if you have anything to add on that.
No, it's just I hope people see the parallel. I think the quote he says, "You don't have anything necessary for fishing," which shows you're not serious about it. And I think that's the saddest part, that we as church-going Christians, in a sense, do to the outside world. We've got all these wonderful people that have all these talents and skills, and they all of a sudden have a desire to learn about Jesus, but we tell them, oh, and to share Jesus and their love, their newfound love of Jesus. And we tell them, oh, just wait. You got to take the class to become a member, and then you got to take the Sunday school class, and then you got to sign up for Wednesday, and then you need to volunteer. And we drain them with so many things associated with serving other Christians that we completely take them away with their joy and their happiness and their light that they're supposed to be in the world from their neighbors. They have this newfound love and joy, and instead of sharing it with their neighbors that need it and that are unchurched, or which isn't a bad thing, we take them and we hide them in this hole called the church building and say, nope, pour all your energy and time and attention to this one building and these 500 people or 1,000 people, whatever it is. And we sap all their energy for ourselves and fill their brain up with verses and stories and completely take the joy out of who they are. I mean, I know what happened to me for years. My joy came, I was a much better, I guess I hate to say Christian, but I knew what it was like to look like a Christian in a sense of who I needed to be when I left the four square walls, because I needed to be out with people. I needed to be out in the world. I needed to be out associating. And there's lots of people like that.
Yeah, it's actually good you bring that up, because as you were just starting, I flipped back to the study guide, the discussion questions in back. And the third one is exactly about what you were just talking about. I quote a statistic in here where the average church conversion rate is less than 1% a year. What that means is for every 100 people in a church, that church will only bring a new believer, one new believer per year for every 100 people. And,
sad.
It is sad, and it's not very good for 100 people, especially when you consider all the time and energy and money that gets poured into that church. It's really not very effective at spreading the gospel and making disciples. And yet, as you pointed out, that's what the church just keeps doing over and over and over.
Draining people.
Draining more and more people, because this is how we do it. And it's just not effective. And we're not open to considering new ways, more effective ways of, like we've discovered, of building relationships, showing people we actually love them, and using all of that time and energy and even money for other things that are more beneficial to help us love and serve others, and help introduce people to the kingdom of God.
Right. Like our first, to give you an example of what we did, our first time of kind of leaving the church was in New York, and that was when he was a chaplain, so I had my Sundays free. I was homeschooling, but Sunday was still free, and we were, in the middle of nowhere, sort of, and so we used our time to bake for our neighbors, and we got to know this old man who had just lost his wife, and we would hang out there every Sunday. Mm-hmm. And he had a cow who the girls loved to Daisy, and I would just talk, and they would play, and we would bring him food, and then the girls started making him cards because he would give them some berries to pick from the garden. And he told me all about his wife and his kids and the land, and we got to know him very well. And he finally trusted me enough to say that, I never asked him to church because we weren't going to church. And he finally said, I don't understand how you can say that you're a Christian when everybody else that I've ever met that's a Christian was very insulting to me and always begged me to go to church. And when I said no, then they would just disown me. And he's like, you just loved me and been mine. It was crazy. And that was eye-opening to me because I was like, yeah, and I've been having fun too. You know, I mean, I got to know the neighbor, and then when his cows got loose, and they were in our yard and pooping all over our yard, I wasn't angry. The girls loved it, and so we'd simply go over and talk to him, and he'd come get them, and it was a relationship that we had built on Sunday. And I mean, we've still written 6 years later, you know, and that was my first experience of, wow, you don't have to be in the four square walls. In fact, the four square walls almost hinder, because all you get every Sunday is every other person that's just like you. They're coming to church for their social club, to memorize their verses, to think they're doing something they can check off on their check-off sheet, and they're missing the entire hurting world out there.
Yeah. So it's not about
What you
gold
wear,
necklaces,
what you drive.
the T-shirts, bumper stickers,
In
or
fact,
the
we
books.
laugh because bumper stickers, there's so many people that use, if you're going to put the bumper sticker on your car, be a gracious driver.
Don't cut
So
people
many
off.
times I'll scream at the car because the girls will be in the car. I'll be like, oh my word, another Christian just cut me off.
Yep. If you're gonna put the bumper sticker on your car,
Drive nice.
drive nicely. So,
Don't put it on
Yeah.
there.
and look, if you want to wear the Christian T-shirts and have the necklace cross, whatever, I don't care. But don't use those methods as the way you let others know you're a follower of Jesus. We're supposed to let people know we're a follower of Jesus because we love them. They will know we're Christians by our love, not by our T-shirts and our necklaces and our bumper stickers and how many Bible verses we can quote. Right?
Yeah, well, that's what we tell the girls all the time. I tell them time and again, if you're going to use those things and wear them and display them, act like a Christian. Otherwise, don't, because you're a worse testimony than if you didn't do it at all.
Yep. Yep.
And that's what the world sees, is they see those hypocritical, judgmental Christians wearing those things. And I know that's not most of the Christians out there, but it's how we're portrayed.
Yep. Good. Okay, that's chapter 10. Next, we're on to chapter 11, fishing rights. We'll see you there.